I was very specific about the title of this video, and it's something I've been wanting to talk about for a long time, ever since I made that video wanting to quit YouTube. You see, Overwatch as a casual game has been steadily growing over the last few months. The introduction of probably the most fun hero Overwatch has seen since ever, alongside decent balance patches, paired with some small amendments to hero unlocks, the battle pass, and other quality of life changes, has led to a significant increase in long-term player retention. The Steam charts is proof of that, and right now, if anyone for a second is telling you that Overwatch as a game is dying, they're doing it to get views. I mean, we all know, Doomer content sells. Unfortunately, the other side of the game, basically anyone that isn't an Overwatch consumer, is suffering. The competitive scene is dying with a poorly marketed FaceIt League that you watching this video probably have zero fucking idea about. One of, if not the best Western coach of our time, is deciding to retire, a likely TikTok ban in 9 months that affects the income of different Overwatch creators, a format that fucks over top teams in just 2 games, topped off with general exhaustion and burnout in the scene, and you have a recipe for disaster. While you, the casual consumer of Overwatch, is winning, the content creators, the players, the coaches, the streamers, and even the casters are tired. And so am I, recording this video at 4:20 AM. I made a disorganized schizo rant on my second channel, which was pretty doomer. Ultimately, I asked the question, why keep trying? Why try and make it as a caster, a coach, a player, a content creator in the Overwatch scene when time and time again, your fate is dictated by luck or externality? In that video, I didn't really have an answer to that question, but now I think I do. Obviously, I'm going to start talking about problems specific to the Overwatch scene, but as we go throughout, I'm going to talk more about things like success, hard work, luck, and why, despite all of this, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Starting off with the coaches, Gunber, now ex-head coach for ENCE, has decided to retire. Now I assume quite a few of you who are uncultured don't even know who Gunber is, but in short, he was the head coach for Florida Mayhem last year, who won the Overwatch League in a pretty decisive fashion. Now, Gunber has had his fair share of controversy with how strict his coaching has historically been, but one thing people don't really deny is how intelligent and strategically ahead of everyone else Gunber really is. It wouldn't be a hot take to put this guy as the best Western coach of our time, and if he's not in your top 5, I don't know who else could be.
What top 5 you smoking on, Kendrick? Cause my top 5 is Gunber.
I'd make about $30,000 over the whole year, right?
So yeah, it's not a secret that Gunber has chosen to retire, mainly from a financial standpoint. As he said in that clip, he's gonna make 30 grand tops, and he's most likely gonna end up making 20 grand at the end of the year. He also just doesn't enjoy coaching as much, which makes sense considering the jump between Florida Mayhem and going to ENCE is quite big. Gunber's obviously not the only coach to retire. Wizard Hyung, who's been working in the scene for the better part of a decade, has retired from professional Overwatch in general, and has chosen to move to content creation instead. But he's seemingly just treating it as a hobby rather than a full-time endeavor. Coffee, a tier 3 coach and TikTok creator, also announced his retirement from the competitive Overwatch scene, mainly because of general achievements. Whether that's financial or accolade-wise, it's probably a mixture of both. Coffee did come back though, so his retirement was short-lived, but I'm mentioning this to show that people in the Overwatch scene are on the edge of retirements. Anyone who's in the scene is purely in it for the love of the game. Next, I have to talk about players. The biggest case here is Twisted Minds, who lost KSA among some internal team drama. Yubi, one of the hit scans for Twisted Minds, posted a picture of someone backstabbing someone after their loss against Team Peps, where now Twisted Minds end up finishing top 6 and almost didn't make the Dallas Major. Now, even though this is an issue specific to just a team and not the entire competitive scene, I think it's representative of a broader idea and theme that you're gonna see throughout this video. The idea that talented people in the scene are getting fucked over by things completely out of their control. And you can see and hear the pain this situation caused. Slay, one of the support players on Twisted Minds, who's been familiar with the team since March of last year, had an interview with Commander X where you can clearly tell how hurt he is.
I've been having a bit of a rough time with the whole thing, so my expectations have been really shattered, you know.
A similar case of this is with Timeless. Timeless were an established contenders team who got second in stage 1 of OWCS. This time round, they don't even make top 8 and they heavily fumbled. Admittedly, this was in their control, and Timeless shouldn't have lost their deciding match against Citrus Nation. But again, the point being made here is that Timeless shouldn't have to have 2 games to dictate their entire fate for the next 4 fucking months. Again, you can see the pain this caused the staff and the players. Rocket's tweet in particular is actually really depressing to read. Like, imagine you pour so much into something you're deeply passionate about and it all means nothing. Again, there's more to Timeless' story, but I'll save that for the end because it links into a lot of ideas I have there. Speaking of players more broadly, there's of course the FaceIt League sign-up failure. You probably don't even know what the FaceIt League is because of how badly marketed it was. But essentially, it's an open, competitive tournament that is pay for entry, and in short, is running at a loss and barely any teams are in it. The total prize pool is 170 grand, but the bad part is that because so few teams are participating, the FaceIt League is running at a loss. I believe it's only making 12 grand across all the 3 regions if you do the math, and people in the scene, like on the Uncoachable podcast, have spoken about the failure of it.
But we need to get like regular people involved in like semi-competitive Overwatch for fun. But at this moment in time, for whatever fucking reason, it looks like dead on arrival.
Last but not least, I want to go over content creators. The main big one is the TikTok ban, which hurts pretty much everyone, especially people reliant on TikTok as their main platform. OC is the most prominent case of this, and in fact, he quit his job because TikTok was paying more. Now, in possibly 8.5 months, that might all change. Again, a hardworking, disciplined, and talented content creator is at the mercy of shit outside his control. Again, when I made that schizo rant on my second channel, OC did leave a comment, but likewise to the Timeless stuff, I'm gonna leave that at the end. And of course, there's myself. And when I see people who work incredibly hard, harder than I do, to try and make Overwatch financially feasible, and fail, I have to ask myself, what reason is there for me to work as hard as them? And really, this video is me trying to look for that answer. After all, I'm just gonna get burnt out, and even the people who have made it because of externality or luck. In Veritasium's video, Is Success Hard Work or Luck?, he provided a recreation of NASA having to choose 11 astronauts picked out of 18,000. The top astronauts in Veritasium's simulation were mostly selected on hard work or skill, but 5% of them being selected was dictated by luck. And the results showed that even though luck played a small 5% role, it still ended up playing a massive factor in the selection process. And we can transfer this to the Overwatch scene. There's tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people trying to make Overwatch a financially possible reality, and yet only a few hundred people, if that, are able to make it a full-time endeavor. To put it short, hard work is absolutely necessary to make it, that's a non-negotiable, but it isn't sufficient. It's not enough to work hard. You also need luck. This doesn't even have to be specific to the Overwatch economy. JReg, a political, satirical comedian, made a video talking about how, as artists or creators, we're not all gonna make it. And even if you do, there's always a chance of you falling back.
This is the last stage, sustainably and successfully sharing your art. You are making money, you are financially successful with your endeavor, but you're also doing it in a way where you can continue doing it for years to come. You have connections in the industry that you're in. You feel internally good about what you're doing, so you can keep doing it. Basically, you found a market for what you're creating. And if that doesn't sound specific and niche enough, once you stay here, you can still fall back down over here. Once you make it, you have to keep making it. That's the sustainable part. Or else you just fall right back down over here. Maybe you become so successful that you get so much money, you no longer have a fire under your ass and your art starts to suck. And then obviously you lose your contacts, you get burned out of your art and you fall down to not even wanting to make art anymore. Many such cases. Maybe you get tired of what you do and it becomes unsustainable for you personally. Every stage along this line is gonna make you hate your life and wanna quit. And even if you get to the top, you can still fall right back down and all your work was for nothing. So no, we are almost certainly not all going to make it. In fact, the vast majority of us will not. But if you're watching this channel, you're probably insane like me and will climb despite the odds anyway, so have fun.
So, we're back to where we started. When we know the odds are stacked against us, why do we try? And ultimately, the answer I've come to is hope. Hope that things will get better. Hope that you will, one day, make it, even if it comes randomly. I saw this TikTok the other day, and it basically urges creators to not quit, to be patient above all things, and to not only expect the lack of results, but to work through them too.
Because when you haven't blown up in 6 months, or a year, or 2 years, let me stretch it to 5 years, or 10 years, you start screaming like, when is it going to be my turn? Like, I'm done with this. Maybe it wasn't right for me. A lot of you give up. That's what I'm trying to say. I think Ray is the best example. Ray, the singer, Raye, I think she's the best example of willing to die doing what she loves before she's made it. Some people, yes, they are lucky and they get to do the overnight success thing. But 99% of the people, you're going to be like me, you're going to be like Ray, you're going to be like all these other creatives that have been doing it for years and years and years, and they only get the recognition randomly 5, 10, 6, 11 years later. So you got to tell yourself, listen, are you willing to really wait?
Of course, when I was watching that TikTok, I was thinking about that gambler meme, which is often used to critique and satirize the sunk cost fallacy. It also brings up the survivorship bias. In other words, of course it's easy to look at successful people and say they just grinded, but we don't see the people who did work hard but didn't make it. In other words, we're biased to the people that survived. We're biased to the people that are successful. But I think this kinda misses the point. The point isn't to suggest people to just endlessly grind it out in a dying scene. The point is to tell people to leave nothing on the table. It's a call against the learned helplessness. And for those that don't know, it's just the behavior you express after enduring repeated adversity outside of your control. In other words, you don't want to regret quitting your passion because you learned to be helpless about your situation. There's a book on this that expands the idea further, I'll link it down below. This isn't even talking about the work smarter, not harder mentality. In fact, you should work both smart and hard. Let's take Gumba for example, the smartest coach in the fucking world, yet too stupid to realize that there's a market waiting for his knowledge. Look at Wizardhyong, look at Jake, look at Commander X, people that have successfully monetized their knowledge. Honestly, I'm happy that I just don't have to compete with someone of Gumba's caliber. Even that TikTok ban, it's pretty unlikely that it's gonna go through since TikTok are gonna fight it to the death. And even if it does get banned in the US, that opens up a market for people to move to a different competitor entirely. Even that Timeless situation, Timeless got picked up by TSM. Fucking TSM. TSM probably didn't even give a fuck on who got signed, but still, it's an impressive feat considering again, Timeless didn't make top 8. Well, what about the competitive scene as a whole? And honestly, I kind of view it like a foundation year at university. It's basically testing the waters of competitive Overwatch after Al died last year. And again, we've already seen orgs like TSM dipping their toes in the water, and I can only expect other orgs to get involved too over time. So, unlike my schizo rant, I want to leave this video off with a positive note, particularly from Sang's video on ominous positivity. I didn't mention OC's comment on the TikTok ban yet, and I left it until now because I think it's a pretty good expression of this idea of fighting back. Because, in Sang's title, you don't have any other option.
In Pedagogy of the Oppressed, which is a book I will tell you about till the cows come home, Paulo Freire coins the term limit situation, or situations that limit humans. Fair. He says, it is not the limit situations in and of themselves which create a climate of hopelessness, but rather how they are perceived by women and men at a given historical moment, whether they appear as fetters or as insurmountable barriers. So if I sound overly hopeful, you'll have to forgive me. I can't think of a more rational way to live. Hope, however, does not consist in crossing one's arms and waiting. As long as I fight, I am moved by hope, and if I fight with hope, then I can wait. But more importantly, I don't get to be hopeless on behalf of the struggles of other people. I don't even get the right to be hopeless about my own. Because things end and change, that means that it is utterly irrational to be hopeless. Because to be hopeless, in my mind, is to say that nothing will change. And nothing could be further from the truth.
So that's the video. It's a bit different to what I usually do, but I thought this topic was interesting and pretty important for anyone trying to make it into the Overwatch scene. Further resources on the topics mentioned in this video will be linked down below, and until next time.